This is the Transformers Generations Legacy Evolution Autobot Devcon. Here's a quick look at the box art, packaging, Evo Fusion. Now he's a bounty hunter, but I guess since he hunts Decepticons, he works for the Autobots. So he's an Autobot bounty hunter, hunting Decepticons, I should say. Anyway, he looks cool. It's the first time I've seen an actual figure of Devcon. Very cool. Let's get this guy out of packaging. And here is Devcon out of the box. And oh my goodness, this figure actually turned out great. In all honesty, I really wasn't excited to get this figure. Out of all the figures in this wave, and when this figure was revealed, I did not believe that this figure was going to be a great figure. I thought it was going to be corny. I thought it was going to be cheap. It was going to feel cheap. It was going to be made up of cheap plastic. I really thought this figure was going to suck. But I could not be farther from the truth. This figure is looking to be one of the best figures in the Legacy Evolution line. And I'm really glad I picked him up. It's a very heavy retool and redeco of a previous mold. And for them to actually come up with, I'd like to think this is a brand new sculpt, a brand new figure with borrowed engineering, is really quite a feat. And I didn't think, honestly, I didn't think this mold or this engineering, this Blurr engineering could still surprise me. Let's take a closer look at the details of this new Legacy Evolution Devcon. So let's jump right into the details of this figure. We'll do the comparisons later. Now, obviously, he does not come with these blast effects. That's probably a minor criticism I have of this figure early on in this review, that he should have come with a bunch of blast effects because he just looks so cool with these blast effects. Obviously, these came from Jetfire and from Rodimus Prime. Some of you were asking, do I have a strobe effect for these blast effects? No, it's really the camera. The exposure is set to a very high exposure, so the camera is deciding whether to go full blast on the exposure or not, and that's why it feels like the blast effects are flickering. So yeah, I don't have a strobe effect. Okay, some of you have asked me what stand I use, particularly this one. This one is the stand that came with the 10-seg base Optimus Prime by Takara Tomy. I did do a review on that. Go check it out on my video review. It is a Hasbro Takara Tomy product. Very cool. Okay, I have the gun placed here, although the instructions tell you to put the gun here because I just rewatched that episode of Devcon hunting down Dirge and the Ramjet, and he always has his gun on his forearm, so this is the perfect place to put it. He does have his Star-Lord rocket boosters, which I thought was pretty cool. You can also, I think, put them here. The instructions don't tell you to do so. So you can have like an Optimus Prime Sideswipe jetpack, but they do fit better here as like Star-Lord rocket boots. I thought that was pretty cool. Let me just go over plastic quality very quickly. Don't let his appearance fool you. At first glance, you will notice that he does look cheap. It's not cheap. These are solid plastic, even this gray bits. The only thing that feels cheap is, well, the feet. Well, that's a common thing with the Blurr mold. And yeah, I don't think they changed it. But everything is very solid despite looking very cheap at first glance. But when you have it in hand, you can see that high quality gloss. It really is a solid figure. Every single bit of the plastic is very solid. Even the weapons, the head sculpt. So no complaints on plastic quality. I love the color. The color is very cartoony. Although I think in the cartoons, he does appear to be just a smidge darker. If you remember in that episode where he meets up with Smokescreen. Earlier in the video, I said that he's a bounty hunter, which is true, and that he works for the Autobots. Apparently, he's no longer associated with the Autobots because he left Cybertron, and he was completely shocked that he's seen another Autobot when he saw Smokescreen at the bar, if you've seen that episode. So he looks like this. We'll get to the alt mode in a little while, but the alt mode very close to his alt mode. The robot mode, very close to how he looks like. Even that head sculpt, the Autobot logo, the sculpt of the arms, the legs, I mean, everything about this figure is so G1 cartoon accurate. I mean, as accurate as can be. And that is amazing. I never thought they would do this. I really thought they'd just be lazy. And honestly, I thought this figure would still look like Blurr. To be honest, that has just some mild repaints, and they just probably replaced a few pieces here and there. But no, they did a full-on super retool, mega retool of the Blurr mold, and when you look at it, it probably just borrows engineering. Okay, let me bring in a Blurr, the Blurr figures. This is a Studio Series 86 Blurr, and this is the Velocitron Blurr. I honestly thought that the best thing that could ever come from this mold was the Velocitron Blurr, because this IDW Blurr was just amazing. I think they did a wonderful job, but lo and behold, Hasbro and Takara Tomy, they've managed to surprise us one last time for this mold. I hope it's not the last, but the latest incarnation shows it looks like a completely brand new mold. The only thing they borrowed are the thighs, maybe the elbow hinges, and the feet. The head sculpt is new, the backpack is new, the torso is new, the hip piece is new, the legs are new, the arms are new. Even the transformation is not entirely the same. And one of the reasons I had so much disdain for this mold was really the transformation. It was a horrible, not horrible, but it was a cumbersome transformation, and it was annoying to bring this figure back and forth his modes. So this figure addresses that and completely changes that, because the transformation is actually a lot of fun. They simplified it. And what I'm getting here is this figure is something like what they did with Metal Hawk. They borrowed some engineering from and some parts from Cyclonus and turned them into Metal Hawk. In the same vein, that's how they did it with the Studio Series 86 Jazz. They turned it into Knockout. And that's what they're doing here. So I'm impressed. Let's bring in his buddy that he met in the bar, Smokescreen. And oh yeah, they look great together. You can have them like in a diorama in the bar, having a drink and chatting. So yeah, he's a little taller than Smokescreen, as was in the cartoon. So I think this is a perfectly good scale. I kind of wished they made him a Voyager, but given the fact that they'll be using the Blurr engineering, Deluxe was the perfect choice for scale of this figure. So enough gushing about how perfect this figure is. Let's talk about the features that he has. He's a Legacy Evolution figure, and as such, he will have a Evo Fusion gimmick. So from this position, you remove the blaster, you put it in on his fist, you can hold it, and then these Star-Lord blast booster rockets, you're gonna peg them in right here on the gun, and there you go. That's his Evo Fusion gimmick, and what it does is it allows him to traverse the endless space of the galaxy off from Cybertron, and he flies like Thor, and you can actually put some booster rockets or blast effects on the booster rockets like this. It allows him to fly even without transforming into a spaceship alt mode. So I thought that was a pretty cool gimmick for Evo Fusion. So you fuse some of the parts here and there, but not really. Okay. Anyway, let's transform him into his Cybertronian rocket ship or spaceship. What you do is you pop this back section right here. Go ahead and fold the arms outward just to get them out of the way. Go ahead and rotate the fists. Pop that forearm back. Do the same on the other side. And they're going to stay right there. Okay, the legs. You're going to fold up or just fold out these panels right here. Fold up the legs up like this and just tab them together. And then fold the feet. And then the feet or the shins are going to collapse onto the back of the robot and tab in. That's it. How simple was that? They got rid of the arm or the shoulders being untabbed and swinging up and down. They got rid of that. So that's cool. The arms they're just gonna stay right here, and you see those peg holes? They're gonna tab onto the legs to form the thrusters of the ship and lower wings. And finally, the backpack is gonna fold over the head. This panel is going to collapse and cover the head and chest, and essentially there is Devcon in his spaceship alt mode. And of course you got to plug in the booster rockets and the gun. And yeah, it looks terrific. If we can just bring back the image of his spaceship alt mode, and you can see right here, yeah, albeit this one is a little more streamlined. I love the effort that they did. They tried to mimic how he looked like in the G1 cartoon, his alt mode. It looks great. It's as close as it's gonna get to how he looked like in G1. And I do love the design. I love the effort that they put on this one. Now for some comparisons, here he is with Brainstorm. So he's not that small. I honestly thought he would be kind of tiny in alt mode, but he's a medium-sized deluxe class figure in alt mode. And so some final thoughts on this Legacy Evolution Devcon. This figure completely surprised me. I think it is the sleeper figure of the wave. If you've not thought about getting this figure, do yourself a favor and give this figure a second look. Pick it up for just normal retail price or less, and I guarantee you will be amazed. You will not regret the decision to buy this figure, because this figure is just absolutely amazing. I think the design, the redesign, the retool, and from the borrowed engineering is just absolutely perfect. They did a perfect rendition of the G1 Devcon as how he appeared in the cartoon. The alt mode looks fantastic. Robot mode looks great. I honestly cannot believe to this point, to this day, how Hasbro and Takara Tomy pulled this off. From something like this to something like that. It is quite the feat. I really enjoyed this figure. This figure is going to get a 10 out of 10. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think of this Transformers Legacy Evolution Deluxe Class Devcon. Hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.